So if you're in the market for a 1911 or a 45 ACP pistol, whatever your reasons are, the CZ97 Bravo is definitely a guy you should check out and before making your final determination. So we're going to go ahead and run through it, cover some pros and cons, why this may or may not be a good firearm for you, and then we'll eventually follow up with the complete field strip and disassembly. Now, some truth in advertising, this has had a couple mods done to it that you would not receive if you bought this straight from the factory. These are all things you can get aftermarket from CZ licensed dealers, but I'll try to cover those up just so that expectations are managed. So first things first, this is a 45 ACP double action, single action, full-size pistol. 10+1 magazine capacity is definitely more modernized and upgraded than your traditional 7 or 8 rounds that you would get with some of the other guys out there selling firearms such as this. This is an all-steel handgun, slide frame, barrel of course, so it is on the heavier side. Single action, double action obviously means that you can carry cocked and locked like a 1911 for example, or you can lower the hammer manually, and I think there's a version even out there with a decocker, and your first shot would be, you know, that longer double action pull. 86 parts total, depending on the model that you get, which is fairly complex by today's standards, but this is based on CZ75 Bravo, the CZ75 Bravo design, which has been around for some time and has proven to be utterly reliable and dependable. You get a fiber optic front sight factory now in version 2. You do just get a regular rear to a dual green dot. This one's been updated with another sight. I'll cover some of the reason why. But generally the sights are considered pretty good. The later versions, current production versions, use, I believe it's aluminum or plastic. I've heard both. I haven't made up my mind yet. Thinner grips because the original grips were wood and just a little bit too wide, I think, for most folks to get comfortable with. You have a nice beaver tail here, which protects you from slide and hammer bite. Generally very kind of good ergonomics, good pointability. Serrations in the front and the rear at an angle. They're not super deep, but definitely functional. You do get an inverted slide, CZ's classic inverted slide design, where the slide rides inside the frame. And one of the things done differently for the 45 ACP is they went ahead and installed the barrel bushing in the front, which is something that you don't get with most CZ firearms. So let's go ahead and field strip this guy just to show you some of the internals. The way you do that is the same with all CZs. You line up these two notches in the rear and essentially push out your slide stop. You can use the base of your magazine. Once you hit it, just get it started, then go ahead and just pull it out, and that'll separate your slide from the frame. With respect to your frame, as I mentioned, it is all steel. Fairly complex, but like I said, it just kind of happens to work. Very easy to convert from single action to double action, and we can talk about that in later videos. But good ergonomics, good, like I said, good grip angle, just fairly, fairly solid and robust design. And as you can see, the rails are on the inside, so when you pop your slide in, it rides inside. Should give you more even wear and even potentially more inherent accuracy. The slide's probably where you're going to see the most of the differences. This one, out of the factory, they ship with a plastic recoil guide assembly. I've replaced mine to a more metallic one just for perceived benefit, let's put it that way. There is a kind of a plunger here that holds in your barrel bushing in place because the barrel bushing is threaded. Then you go ahead and unthread that, and that'll free up your barrel. So the benefit of a barrel bushing is you have a consistent, stabilized venue in the front and the rear. But the barrel does not come out like a 1911. It still comes out via traditional way. So the barrel is now locked in to place in the rear, obviously with the chamber, and in the front with the barrel bushing. So you should be a much more stable shooting platform. These have a firing pin block in them right here. This one's been removed. It also has a loaded chamber indicator. When there's a round in the chamber, it'll push this pin up and you can see it protruding up. That'll indicate that it's loaded. Whether you like that or not, it's up to you. This does use kind of a more, I would say, modernized barrel with a square chamber and the link-free locking mechanism, so that should, certainly handle 45 ACP like a recoil. Reassembly is, just put the barrel back, thread in the bushing. The barrel bushing is notched, so when you go ahead and finger tighten it, just go ahead and back off to the next position, and when you put in your housing or whatever this little guy's called, it'll index it and prevent the barrel bushing from threading loose or anything like that. Return your guide spring or your guide rod there, and then simply slide into the frame, line up those same notches, and push your slide stop all the way through, and you are good to go again. So generally, kind of a proven design, even though it is a little bit complex. So let's look at some pros and cons. So start with pros, I suppose. Most people would agree, depending on hand size, very good ergonomics, good beaver tail, prevents you from, like I said, slide bite or hammer bite, which can get old very quick. Serrations, always a plus. Reliability is good. The sights, the factory sights, the green on red, I've mentioned these have been upgraded, but the green on red actually do help you pick up the front sight. The trigger, CZs are known for having a light double action that breaks in even nicer, and a really nice single action, so plus on that. These grips definitely help you get a good grip on it, prevent the firearm from sliding in your hand. Of course, the 10+1 magazine capacity is very good, especially for a 45 ACP. I believe you get 2 mags when you pick this guy up. All steel helps minimize felt recoil as well, and gives you a more perceived quality feel. And of course, the barrel bushing should help in accuracy as well. Now the cons. Some of them are the same as the pros. Given the large magazine capacity, you have a wider grip. Some people might say it's like gripping a 2x4. It's up to you, depending on your hand size, if this is for you or not. I would probably recommend, if you have medium or large hands, take a look at this guy. If you have small hands, this may be a stretch for you. It may also give you trouble reaching the double action trigger if you have small hands. Second pro/con, if you want to call it that, the weight minimizes the recoil, but most of the time, if you're going to be carrying this gun or just having it around, it'll be weighing you down by absorbing the recoil. Now, the reason why I upgraded the rear sight is, out of the factory, the rear sight is friction fitted, so it's a drift and then staked in place, which is just a fancy way of saying hammered. I don't want to say hammered in, but think of it as like taking a flathead screwdriver and just pinning 2 pieces of metal in place. I found that will drift very easily without a set screw, which is why I opted for this guy. The good news is that these sights are the same cuts as all the other CZ sights, so you just have to get your heights right, but the width of the dovetails is the same, so parts availability is there. But I just did shoot my rear sight loose with the factory setup, but that was taken care of, so no longer an issue. Otherwise, reliability's been excellent. Haven't had any issues or malfunctions whatsoever. There's no rails on here, and I didn't want any, to be honest. They do have a few other versions. If you don't like the safety, they have one with a decocker, and I can bash the single action, double action feature, flaw, whatever you want to call it, but that is easily remedied with a trigger swap. So if you don't like that, inconsistent trigger pull, you can go ahead and get that done. The other minor con is the mag release is a little small. The other CZ75s have a slightly extended mag release, but that's certainly not a showstopper. So definitely a handgun that does bring some advantages to the kind of 1911 style 45 ACP market. If you're looking for something modern, quality, that's a little bit more different than a 1911. Certainly not priced like one, but feeds, from my experience, reliably. Definitely has some interesting pros. This is a good one to check out. We will go ahead and field strip this guy in another video, but that's pretty much it in a nutshell. The CZ97 Bravo, good competitor or good contender for your 1911 style 45 ACP needs. Thanks.